Good question. She was great. She was amazing. Like, oh, all right. She's out there learning for us. Yeah. The second shortest straw. All set? Good evening. Welcome to the July 14th, 2022 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. Hearings before the Preservation Commission are quasi-judicial in nature. This is a design review process to determine if the proposed project is congruous with the special character of the historic district or landmark. Decisions of the commission are based on the record of these proceedings, the Wilmington Design Standards for Historic Districts and Landmarks, and the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation. Evidence submitted to the commission for review becomes part of the record. Appeals of commission decisions are to the Wilmington Board of Adjustment and then to Superior Court and are based on the record. Appeals must be filed within 30 days of the date of the commission's action. Evidence is received during the evidentiary hearing portion of an agenda item. Those who want to address the commission are sworn as witnesses to present material and substantial evidence to the commission. The chair recognizes those who want to submit such evidence during the evidentiary hearing. Evidence should be directed to the commission. To ensure that evidence is properly recorded, please come to the podium in the hall in the front of us to address the commission. State your name and address and speak clearly. A brief reminder that members of the HBC are appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the City Council. Our charge is with respect to the protection and preservation of properties in the city's designated historic district. We are held to the standards of the Wilmington Design Standards for Historic Districts and Landmarks and per applicable NC state law to determine if exterior changes are congruous with the special character of the city's historic districts. It is important that we deliberate the merits of each request in a manner that provides a record as to the basis for our decisions. Please remember that our deliberations should be centered on how a project meets the design standards and whether the proposed change is congruous or is not congruous. Commissioners, if you have received or been made aware of any outside evidence related to any of the matters, please recuse yourself. At this time, I would like to request that all cell phones be either turned off or put in silence mode. Thank you. Bad idea. Would like to introduce our city staff. We have Jessica Baldwin, our senior planner, Amy Bradshaw, planning coordinator, Melissa Huffman, assistant city attorney, Ron Satterfield is in attendance, assistant director of planning, and Megan Basic, associate planner. And then also wanted to introduce our new director of planning, fresh from Mansfield, Connecticut to Wilmington, North Carolina, Linda Painter. Welcome. Linda, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the welcome. And as you said, I am fresh from Connecticut. I just moved in the last month. So it's been an adventure, and just a little background, I have worked for the cities of Orlando, Providence, and the town of Mansfield, so familiar with historic preservation, and just looking forward to getting to know Wilmington and serving this great city. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, if the commissioners would please introduce themselves, starting stage right.
Stephen Sulkey.
Joan Keston.
I'm Christopher Yermel.
Ron Wilson. Michael Smith.
And then if we could please swear in those present who wish to present evidence related to an agenda item.
If I could have all staff, applicants, and anyone in the public who intends to speak this evening to please stand up, raise your right hand. In order to speak this evening, you'll have to be sworn in. Please stand up, raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
And if I understand right, minutes will be presented from the last month's meeting in August, not tonight, right?
That is correct.
We will now open the evidentiary proceeding. Anyone wishing to submit evidence is asked to come to the podium in the hall now? Nope, I'm sorry. Back up. We're going to go to...
That's the language for when you do open the evidentiary hearing after all the presentations are made.
Okay, right, understood. So we're going to start with new business. 411 Nunn Street. And we'll start with a staff report from Megan.
Hello, I'm Megan Basic. I'm an associate planner with the City of Wilmington, and I'll be presenting on 411 Nunn Street today.
Megan, can you please make sure that the microphone is on?
Yeah, I can barely hear you, but yeah, or move closer to it.
Where would the button be?
On the bottom.
Like under the podium? I'm just too quiet? Not something I heard a lot growing up. Sorry, I'll try to speak a little louder. My name is Megan Basic. I'm the associate planner with the City of Wilmington, and I will be presenting on 411 Nunn Street today. The applicant seeks the after-the-fact approval of the installation of a new door. The Baudu and Marshall House was built circa 1891 and is a two-story side passage Italianate style house that features attic vents in frieze, bracketed eaves, and a hipped roof. There is a full width one-story front porch with a hipped roof supported by turned posts. The original front door has been removed and the transom window has been infilled. The house is located at the north side of Nunn Street between South 4th Street and South 5th Avenue. The house is a contributing building to the Historic District residential, since the subject property is a contributing resource in the Historic District residential, revisions to all facades are subject to design review. The applicant seeks the after-the-fact approval for the removal of the non-original 6-panel wood door and the installation of a craftsman-style door on the front facade. The door is 37 3/4 inches wide by 81.5 inches tall and is constructed from pre-finished mahogany and features a half light with a 6-light pattern. Staff would like to note that in 1961, 411 Nunn Street had a half-light door with 2 horizontal panels, and by 2006, 411 Nunn Street had a 6-panel door. Staff could not locate a COA for the 2006 doors installation. A photo from a 2005 Major Works project shows that the entryway did have no door installed at the time when the photo was taken. And then the photo shows up again later the door shows up in 2006 real estate listing pictures. The design standards describe Italianate doors, as recessed and often set within arched openings with elaborate enfranements and sometimes incorporate large glass panels. A field guide to American houses by Virginia Savage McAllister, a widely recognized resource in the study of American architecture, states for Italianate style architecture, paired as well as single doors are common, as is large pane glazing in the door itself rather than small panes in a frame surrounding the door. Staff notes that throughout the Historic District, Italianate-style houses showcase the several types of doors that are associated with the style, including single and double doors, that either feature large pane glazing or no glazing at all. The design standards note that each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of history, such as adding conjectural features or architectural elements from other buildings, shall not be undertaken. Staff would like to, at this time, enter the report in its entirety into the record of tonight's proceedings.
Do we have any questions of staff from commissioners? All right, thank you, Megan. Applicant has the opportunity now to provide additional evidence or answer any questions. If you would come up, if you're, okay, and state your name and address, please.
Kevin Doyle, 411 Nunn Street.
Oh, Monica Jenks, spouse, also 411 Nunn Street.
We'd like first opportunity to thank Megan for the work, because when this first thing just kind of kicked up, we had a volley of emails back and forth, and she was very helpful. Based on the last email that we received that provided, all this information, I think Monica and I both kind of agreed that we have to replace the door. So from that perspective, we agree with the findings and understand the door needs to be replaced. Actually, we had some questions about the process around the commission. We just moved here 3 years ago, and was there something that we received when we moved into town about this process and the historical commission and the terms and conditions and requirements and the things that need to be done? Should we change something in our house?
That has been an issue that's been queried here before. I wonder if staff would like to offer anything. I know there was a mailing that went out recently. I received one about a month ago in my office that's in the historic district, and something generally.
Yeah, we have been trying to make sure that new homeowners are aware of the HPC process. As a relatively new staff member, I don't know how that was done before, but it does fall on the property owner and person that purchased the home to understand and find those guidelines.
Mr. Jenks, I'll just add, we are working on this. We've had workshops with realtors. I absolutely agree that incoming people should have some notice when they're buying in the district. We've talked about ways to do that, but and it is a work in progress. However, I think that whatever attracted you to our neighborhood was the fact that the integrity of the neighborhood has been maintained, which is why this commission is here. But, we are trying to close the lack of information to new home buyers so that it is my belief that they want to follow the rules. It is a work in progress from our standpoint as well.
Yeah, obviously you can understand the neighborhood mentions the commission, and I guess the vibe, the words we heard was if you're going to do something significant like
Paint.
replace the front porch and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
would go through the commission. A door, we just didn't believe at that time and understand that a door would be subject to this process as well. So,
Right.
That's just from our perspective. Is that we moved today 3 years ago, and we just didn't know that it was this minute change that would require this type of investigation. But we definitely want to, comply with the requirements.
I wanted to add something to that, too. The door that was there, basically when we bought the house, was on its last leg. And over the course of the winter, it kind of died. So it had a split, and air was getting through, and it was an easy to break into door. We did go to the legacy foundation, we looked for a door that we thought would be appropriate, even though I didn't know there was a process such as this, or that we had to apply beforehand, thus the fine afterwards. One of my things was, I wanted to get a door that was as close to what we had, but stable. But I needed glass in it, because I'm not a ring camera person. And I wanted a glass so that I could see, rather than getting the camera and checking everyone out. So we looked for something. Now, the pictures show the two arched doorways, which are lovely, but will never fit there.
Right.
And it shows the ones with all the glass on the sides and on the top, but we would have to cut into our house to do that. So there was just the one door that Megan sent, which I have not been able to locate anywhere
We've looked everywhere from Richmond to Greensboro.
for that door.
And actually, the folks at, what's the place again?
Legacy.
Yeah, Legacy, are looking as well.
Yeah, we're on their
And
wait
haven't-
list.
Yeah, and haven't
All right,
found
could I ask a picture of which door specifically?
The one door that Megan sent that had the glass, which is our neighbor kitty catter.
I have light.
Okay, go back. That one up in the upper, my right-hand corner. I have not been able to find that in a regular store. Not like that. I mean, I'm being real particular now, so now I'm like, well, you probably need that rectangle thing in there.
Ma'am, I'm going to need you to speak into the microphone.
Oh, sorry. No, I haven't been able to find one just like that.
Right.
So I thought when we first put the other door in, I'm like, well, we should paint it because the other door was black. But I just hadn't gotten to paint it before all of this happened. So now, having said all this, our back door is the exact same, not very attractive, not very well-made door that whoever had it before didn't get a coda for. We can move it out. We can move it to the front. It's not attractive, and it doesn't have the glass. But at this point, I don't know what I'm supposed to do to find that one door.
Well, I think Megan was offering a couple of just examples of other Italianate doors. It doesn't really have to be that one
But
particularly.
I looked online a
And,
lot.
and I'm curious, this door that you installed, this Craftsman style, did that come as just a slab? Or did you have someone install like a whole brand new frame, like
Whole brand-new frame. It was $1,000.
new casing and everything? Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought, well, maybe I could throw myself on your mercy and ask, can I paint it and maybe put a big wreath on it so that I can peek through and see who's outside? I'll paint it, I'll dumb it down a little bit, but I can't find the door.
And the avenues you're pursuing to find a new door, or what, besides
Well, we're
Legacy
on
and
Legacy's waiting list.
things online,
I've gone online.
Okay.
We've been to all the antique stores in the area.
local vendors like Coastal Window and Door Center, or Godwin's
I
Lumber,
probably
or anything like
called
that?
them initially.
Or looked at their website, yeah.
My only other option to get a door where I can see people who are at the door is to go past Fifth Avenue, walk down those houses that aren't part of the commission and see if anyone would switch a door with me, which is possibly an option.
Hole in the door instead of glass. It's not the same thing, but
It's not, and if they're short or, I just would love to be able to see, but the worst case, we move it from the back, the exact same door, not very attractive, and we might just get the ring anyway.
Have you tried Home Depot?
Yeah, a lot.
Because I actually have two doors in my house, there are 5 fan lights, and I know they were never approved. It was done before I bought the house, and they're not historic. So I've been looking, and I know Home Depot does have a selection of half-light doors. I mean, of various types of wood.
I'll go back and look again. I know metal, but I knew at the time we were replacing the door.
Now, you can get a wooden half-light there, various styles. You can get, horizontal panels, vertical panels on the bottom half. They have quite a few things in different woods. They're not cheap, but you can get them. I mean,
That one wasn't either.
so, yeah, that wasn't cheap either.
Well, I appreciate your due diligence.
Try.
And we also walked around and took pictures of doors in the neighborhood, before we knew that Italianate and doors were
Right.
one and the same.
You know, and actually, the photograph we see, unfortunately, work's going on and the door, there's no door there or it's open, so we don't know what the original, I remember when this house was done. I live in the district, have for 40 years. I remember when this house was done, but the nice thing about the photograph is that you see original elements to the house. You see small brackets at the top of the post, and unfortunately, before you purchased it, someone took out the transom, which, if you look at that original photograph, it makes everything to scale, because it goes up and matches the height of the windows. And when I was looking at your house, I walked across the street, and every other house has a transom, you know, and it's unfortunately that it obviously escaped the oversight of the commission, but, you know, our goal and mission and standards are to protect the integrity of the neighborhood. And I'm sure that the fact that you've done research, we just are here to say this door is not correct, that we could offer you time to continue your search
That would help.
until such time you find an appropriate door, but that this one is not congruous with an Italianate house.
So in terms of timing, what is the time frame?
Sir?
How much time do we have to get to?
Not something we do, but I appreciate your need to change out a drafty, broken down, unsafe door, but it's,
In that aspect of it, the timing, I think during the commissioner deliberation, which we're still listening to your concern and your input here, in a minute, we're going to open it up to the public, and if no one has anything to say, then we're going to deliberate amongst ourselves about it. We can kind of open that up to staff and see what options there are for timeframes. But I do want to say specifically, like, I know for a fact, if you go to Coastal Window and Door Center or Godwin's Lumber, even Builder's First Source, go in there with kind of some photographs of what you're looking for. They can help you find doors, and I don't think you would need a whole new frame. You could probably just get a slab replacement, so you don't have to pull the entire frame out and everything. You probably just get a slab, that dimension, to fit right into that opening and screw into the hinges that you have.
Okay. Just from a timing perspective, this all started early February, late January, and there was an exchange of emails, and we asked to have more research done as to the conclusions that were reached, why this wasn't a proper door. And that was in March, and then it went radio silent. Then we got a second notice in May, and then we reached back out and had another couple conversations and found out that the individual, and her name slips in my mind right now, who
Ivy.
sent her response back to us, sent it to a wrong email. And she sent it on like March 3rd. So there was a 60-day period of time where we were kind of waiting in limbo, and then we had to go through the proving we paid the $100 originally, and then there was question as to whether we paid it or not, and we had to go back and confirm that we had paid it like we thought we had. So, I mean, this could have been shortcut a little bit by 60 days had just the simple fact of the email going to the right address would have helped us out immensely. So I just keep that, if you could
Understood.
keep that.
Yeah, we can take that up
keep
with
that in
staff
mind,
while we're
yeah.
discussing this. Any other questions?
thank you for
No,
your commitment to this property.
Thank you.
We'll now open the evidentiary proceeding. Anyone wishing to submit evidence is asked to come to the podium now. Please state your name and address and present your evidence. Seeing none, we will open commissioner deliberation. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're not leaving, are you?
Yeah,
Don't leave.
You're not done.
Commissioner deliberation.
I think we should just continue this for about maybe 60 days to give them plenty of time to find a door and then come back so they don't have to start the whole process again.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, you're going to have to come to the podium. The
While she's
proceedings are
approaching.
recorded, so we have to have you on the record.
So, when I find the door, do I have to apply again with the CODA, or do I take it to the one that I think will work? Do I take it to make? How do I get approval?
I suspect this will be a bypass application we would do, that it wouldn't have to come to the commission. I think if the commission gives the staff some intent on what we're kind of looking for, I think the staff is certainly capable of helping select that door and approve that door, rather.
Okay.
And rather than continuing the item, you all could also just give them 60 or 90 days or whatever you think would be appropriate to come into compliance.
Well, coming into compliance, there's just with supply chains, I think,
Yeah, okay.
well, we'll talk about this, but we'd like to give them, I think, a lot of time, in my opinion.
I think
And
so.
you can even give them more than that. I'm just
Sure.
saying, if you
Right.
continue this case to a date certain, then there's a potential they'll have to come back at a later date and explain why they haven't been able to find that door in 90 days, for example. or,
Whatever the days is,
Understood.
even if we put the old back door back on, we'll have it changed, but I hope
Okay.
just to get a good door.
And just so you know, since we're doing a public education thing here, all sides of the house are subject to historic commission review.
Oh.
So it's not whether it's the front or the side or the back, it's all sides in your district.
Okay. But it is the exact same door that was on there.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, no, they were bought at the same time.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to reopen the evidentiary portion to the public so we can hear from,
And I was
From Travis.
late and didn't get sworn in. You're gonna, I'm sorry. It's a busy afternoon.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you for catching. May I ask if you would consider a little bit longer than 60 days?
Like 6 months.
Level 2 of the Cape Fear Historic Construction class begins August 16th. The full-time carpentry instructor is going to be the instructor of the Level 2 class, and I just sent him a quick text. They are looking for a door project. And but we're going to need more than 60 days because, 60 days would be just
Month.
3 or 4 weeks. The class begins August 16th.
Okay.
So I'm going to connect and thank you.
yeah, thank you, Travis.
Yeah, thank you, Travis.
I'm going to close the evidentiary portion of, that's open to members of the public and restart the commissioner deliberation. Joan,
I think it should be 6 months.
any objection?
No.
6 months seem reasonable? Good?
Fine.
Okay, so would someone like to make a motion on this?
Then we're not approving what this is, right? I move to deny the request to alter the fact approval of front entry door at 411 Nunn Street.
Commissioner Keston, may I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Weird.
Okay, if you deny this application for a COA, then you would not be allowed to put any conditions on it at all. The way that staff has this framed is it's an approval with conditions, and the first condition is that the craftsman-style door would be removed. And so then you can just add an additional condition that gives them that extended period of time.
I move to approve with conditions the request for after-the-fact approval of front entry door at 411 Nunn Street. Details are shown on the drawings, plans, photographs, submittals, and narrative statement contained in the application, and supplemental materials and statements made at this meeting are part of this request unless otherwise noted. This motion is based on the evidence presented before us, the application submittals, testimony, staff reporting, including the findings of fact. The following conditions shall be applied to ensure compliance with the design standards, those set forth in the staff report 124, including additional condition that we will allow 6 months grace period to meet with the rest of the conditions set forth and subject to this motion. The proposed request with conditions does comply with the Wilmington Design Standards for Historic Districts and Landmarks, is compatible with the materials, features, design, context, and character of the historic building and the historic district in which it is located, and is congruous with the site, streetscape, and historic districts, aspects of the historic district residential as a whole. Applicable design standards, 1.6, Secretary of the Interior Standards 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 3.2, Windows and Door Standards 2, 3, 4, 7, and 13.
Is there a second?
Second.
Favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay, thank you. Now for our second agenda item, 101 South 7th Street. Will you hear from staff, please?
Good evening. We have 101 South 2nd Street, South 7th Street. The applicant proposes to install a fence with gates, construct a driveway, construct a brick patio, and remove a portion of an existing concrete boundary knee wall. The Dolgan House, built circa 1928, is a two-story brick house with a cross-gabled roof, decorative rafter brackets, paired and single 6/1 sash windows that are highlighted by masonry soldier course lintel that features decorative keystones and chamfered corner blocks. The front facade is 3 bays wide with a half-width porch, brick columns, and a front entry with multi-pane side lights. The front entry also features a lintel detail matching the window design. A small shed roof dormer with a 6-light window is located above the entrance at the south side of the projecting bay. The northeast corner of the property has a 1-car garage with a hipped roof and remnants of an iron fence atop a portion of the concrete boundary knee wall. The subject property is located on the southeast corner of Dock and South 7th Streets. The main entry faces South 7th Street. The subject property is a contributing resource in the Historic District Residential, and revisions to all facades of the building and the site are subject to design review within this district. The applicant seeks to install a wood picket fence with gates atop the existing concrete wall along the side north and front west facades. The fence will align with the southern edge of the house and follow the existing concrete wall north and turn east to the northeast corner of the property. As shown, as you can see here. Oh, sorry. The fence will be treated pine Gothic space picket fence. 2 in-swing gates will be installed at the existing opening in the front west concrete wall to match the wooden fence, and 2 in-swing gates will be installed at the existing opening in the side north concrete wall to match the wooden fence. The fence, including the existing concrete wall, will be 4 feet in height. The applicant seeks to install a wood dog-eared fence and gate partially along the front west, southern, and eastern property lines, as shown here in the purple square. The dog-eared fence will be 6 feet in height, starting at the southern edge of the house and run south along the existing concrete wall, turning east along the southernmost property line and turning north to the northeasternmost point of the property. A 12-foot wide sliding gate will be installed on the western portion of this fence, shown here in the diagram. The applicant also seeks to remove a 12-inch portion of the concrete wall, shown approximately here.
12 foot.
12 feet wide. There. The applicant also seeks to install a 12-foot wide gravel driveway in the western side yard with a 20-foot wide by 20-foot long gravel parking pad. The gravel will be gray 57S. The applicant also seeks to install a 9-foot wide by 20-foot long paver patio on the southern edge of the house. The pavers will be paved stone, rumble stone, in slate gray. Staff notes that there are a variety of brick walkways laid in different patterns within the Wilmington Historic District and are typical of the streetscapes. Staff also notes the variety of fences in the neighborhood, shown with a few samples shown here. Design standards state that homeowners should retain and preserve original or historically appropriate fences and walls and all architectural features that are character-defining elements of the fences. Staff also notes that there is a temporary gate on the front porch. The applicant has noted to staff that the gate will be removed pending approval tonight, but no COA has been requested. Design standards note that the construction of new fences and walls the construction of new fences and walls should be no taller than 4 feet in front yards. Design standards state that vinyl, opaque, stockade, and chain link are not appropriate within the historic district, and staff would like to enter tonight's proceedings into the record.
Any questions of staff? Thank you. We would like to provide the applicant an opportunity to allow additional evidence or answer any questions. If you would come up and state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Merritt Hahn. I live at 101 South 7th.
I'm Matt Hahn. I live at 101 South 7th. We just wanted to, I guess, come into, the biggest thing is what we're trying to accomplish is security. You know, for our family, we've had, probably three houses that we've lived in the past have had issues. One, somebody robbed us, and she actually came home when they were doing it. The last house we had, over on Holden Beach?
Yes.
We had two people that trespassed on their property.
Sir, can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Do you want me to start all over?
No, you don't have to start
Okay,
over, but.
all right. So then the house that we had before this, we didn't have to deal with any issues. It was like a real small HOA. And, you know, we just had a conversation, and they said, go ahead and build what you want to build. So we built a fence around the whole property. It was like over 1,000 foot. And that was the only place that we've owned and we've never had an issue with. You know, when people see stuff, you know, fences and gates, you know, you know not to come up on the property, right? So the biggest thing is just security is what we're trying to accomplish. So I didn't know if anybody had any questions for us.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just on the security issue, the standards do allow cameras that you can apply for, and then be signs for the or security systems and all that. Have you seen the standards for security?
As far as just having cameras?
Cameras or you know, security or, you know, alarm, whatever they call those signs, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had a business at Holden Beach, and we had those, and still had people had stolen some stuff off the, you know, I had a construction company.
Okay.
Even with cameras, you know, cameras don't prevent people from, you know, coming on your property, and they just, I think a fence and gates, you know, that prevents people from coming on your property. You know, I know that even if you don't have a gate or a fence, I'm not walking on your property at all, just because, you know, I don't think it's right. But people, you know, things are different now than when, you know, we were little, you know. If somebody, well, what was it? Probably right when we were moving in, there was somebody on the front porch.
Homeless person.
A homeless person, and I think the guy on Dock Street.
Yeah, I live downtown. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't want anybody on my property, that's all.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah, I have a question. You through, Steve? Yeah, I mean, how high is the white wall shown in the illustration up there? How tall is it?
The existing wall right now, I think it's like 2 foot.
Yeah.
So then we would add just an additional 2 foot on that, because we need to be at what, 4 feet?
Yep.
My iPad is kind of going down here, and you may have it in the package, but do you have any illustrations or drawings of what this existing wall with the new fence on top of it will look like? Do you have any details to show us or a contractor about what it's going to look like? I have a little concern myself about a wooden fence on top of a stucco wall surrounding a brick house. So, you know, it's hard for me to visualize what that's going to look like without some type of drawing and most times the applicant will have a drawing or an illustration of what the fence is going to look like. So,
yeah, at least photographs of something similar, just to have we don't have a clue. Like, I don't know if the spacing on these pickets is going to be 4 inches or 8 inches or 1 inch or.
Right. What packet do you guys have? Like when we handed everything in, we had some samples.
of what the
Yeah.
fencing would look like.
I
Not-
have it here.
Not on top of the wall, but the actual wooden
wanna-
panels.
What the wooden panels
I
look
have the presentation that you supplied us, but that's all I have in regards to samples, which I'm happy to put up for everybody to see.
Keep the wall,
Okay.
and then just add, build right on top of it. Right.
Ashley, if you could please talk into the microphone, make sure it's on.
Typically, on a wall like this, it's ornamental iron. Am I not correct?
I think that was our point over here, was that it, wood on top of stucco in front of a brick house. It's a
Not
little
congruous.
unusual.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the costs of things, and that is, it'd cost a fortune. I think we spent, close to 200 on the house, remodeling the inside. I know that, nobody cares about that, but, I don't know.
Aluminum would be a lot more congruous than wood, even aluminum.
If we could put it on the back side of the wall, you know what I mean? If in the yard, we could do that. We just didn't think that would be, if you would like that or not.
That was my question too, having to do with constructability of this. So if you're putting wood up there, that means it's going to be a 4x4 presumably, if not bigger than a 4. We don't know. To Ron's
You mean
point,
on top of the wall?
on top of the wall. So how do you
would
mount the 4x4, the 6x6 to the top of that wall without damaging the wall? And if you're using aluminum, that's cheaper than metal and iron and steel. If you're using aluminum, it's a smaller post and you're probably putting 4 screws into it. And it's just a tighter, stronger connection without something bigger and massive that's doing in the wind resistance. And I fear for the wall itself with a wood fence. But again, we don't even know what what fence is going to look like. Maybe that was something, Jessica, you were pulling up to see just what the proposed wood.
I don't have an exact proposed look of it, but what they submitted a slideshow with some examples of fences in the neighborhood that is here.
All right.
The existing wall that's there it's in fairly good shape.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have done the aluminum. That was that's really what we wanted.
Presumably black aluminum, I guess, right?
Yeah, and on the other side of the wall, not on top of the wall, because that's, we would have had to custom make that. You know what I mean? The woods, you can customize wood. You can, do anything. My intentions were to just take 6x6s, and put them on the wall, but take, drill through the top of the wall, epoxy all thread in it, drill the bottom of the post, slide it over, and then drill a hole through the side of that and put a nut and cinch it down. I don't know.
Maybe a post base?
What's that?
A post base, I think it's going to be.
It wouldn't even use the base. You would just drill through the bottom of the 6x6. So let's say this is the wall right here. You drill in, and you have a piece of 3/4 all thread sticking out roughly this height.
Yeah.
And you drill the post,
Drill it down.
slide that post in. I guess before you slide the post in, you got to drill a hole through the side, like a decent sized hole. So when you put that post in, you put a nut and you thread that and it cinches it down. It's just like how, hundreds of years ago they did when they did newel posts inside of houses.
Inside houses, yeah.
Either way, we would need some sort of documentation. Us just talking about bolts and adhesives is not really good for the record. So we have to have something that we can look at and analyze and discuss in order to provide any kind of guidance on this particular project. And now you're maybe thinking about wood or metal and there's a whole nother aspect of how you attach it to that and what the railing, I mean, so you need some drawings for us to take a look at, and maybe the thing to do is continue this until you can provide that for the commission to review, and or it may be something that I would hate to put this on staff because I feel like it's a very big statement that is going to totally change the look of that corner, regardless of what type of fence or material that you choose to put there. So I'm saying the commission, will work with you in trying to put up your 4-foot fence, but we need more data to see what you're trying to do there, or at least I do.
And Ron, I might submit that there could be a sense of the commission that we might not be interested in wood in the first place. We'll determine that in a minute. I don't know if there's going to be a need to look at doing a design detail for wood in case there's a sense that the commission might like to see something other than wood, aluminum, and you can do a custom aluminum rail too. I wanted to ask you too about the 4-foot versus the 6-foot height. So, you've got the area where you're taking up 12 feet, and then at the southern edge of the house, that's where you're proposing to have this wood fence right now go from 4 feet up to 6 feet. And if 4 feet is good all the way around everywhere else, why wouldn't the 4 feet be good also for the rest of it to provide that sense of protection you're looking for, instead of having 6 foot on the west elevation of that wall there?
Yeah, she made a good point, because we can't have 6 feet in front of the house.
We know that.
Right, so, yeah.
We're very clear on that.
Well, that's another thing we want to discuss, I think, as a commission, is about the 6-foot part on this. If it was a corner lot, maybe on the edge, that's different, but you're still looking at the front face of this, on 7th Street, all of a sudden jumping up from 4 feet up to 6 feet.
Right. It is allowed though, right? I mean, or did we not read, we didn't read something right?
That is our, in essence, that is our backyard. We
Right,
don't have
right.
a backyard, we have a side yard, and that's what we treat it as. That's where we'll have our, family time or whatever you want to call it. But
If it was simpler, we could just do the 4-foot aluminum fence around the whole property. You know what I mean?
On top of the wall?
No, it would be behind it.
have to be behind it.
And, and it's, because that'd be a real hard build to go on top of it.
Easier than the 4x4 and 6x6, for sure.
Yeah, and I used to own a welding shop.
Oh, good.
If
There you go.
I still had it, we could do it, but it's different now.
And there are fence companies that deal with aluminum. They do custom stuff like this, but,
Yeah.
Just, for an example, sir, I wrote a couple addresses down. 606 Chestnut Street is a greenhouse, and 113 North 6th Street, there's a white house. And both of these homes have added a metal above a brick wall.
Yeah.
And they look very nice. Both those owners are very nice people. They might give you some pointers of where they got it and how much it cost if you were interested.
Okay.
But I mean, you could possibly explore that, because probably that on top of this wall would look a lot sharper than any kind of wood or anything else.
Yeah. We would prefer, to have it on top. We just don't want to, keep continuing.
It would also match your gate on your porch.
Well, that gate's not
That's not,
we weren't allowed to put that gate up. That was just like a temporary thing.
Well, that gate looks great.
Right.
Michael, I'm sorry, were you going to?
I do have some comments whenever, when it's appropriate, I'll jump in.
Am I taking that with me, that paper?
Yeah, please, a couple addresses.
thank you.
You can take a look.
I don't know some of the illustrations that we have in our packet, whether you provided those or staff walked around and photographed those, but I don't think any of them really relate to your proposal here with picket on top of a stucco wall or down the side. They really don't. I will support Stephen's comment that given the date of your house And, you know, the standards that we apply, that it's appropriate for the period and style. And though we're very concerned, I live downtown, have for 40 years, so I know what you're saying. I'm not as close to the sidewalk as you, but my neighbors are. I understand what you're saying, but we're an architectural review body, and we are having more and more people come and say, security, this is all about security, security. We can't turn the neighbor into a fortress, individual properties into forts. You know, that mars our responsibility and the attractiveness and appropriateness of your house. I think if you look, I've certainly seen fencing like you have on your house that's temporary in a 2-foot would be complementary. It is all brick except for that small portion above, a masonry wall, to add a lot of wood. And I would support that it is not appropriate to put any fencing behind that existing stucco wall. The beauty of our neighborhood is that it's a drive-by, walk-by community. And I know you're limited to 4 feet, but it is to blend. And I could quote standards, I've highlighted many, that any change has to be congruous, complementary for the period. I mean, I could go on, and for me, what you're proposing is not correct. I do have some questions about, I see that you, I will ask to the south side of your property, it looks like you're going to be 3 or 4 feet away from your adjoining neighbor. Is that correct?
Yes.
In the construction of the fence?
Yes.
You're nodding, and he's following.
Are you talking about our neighbor to the south?
To the south of your house, yes.
Which is who, right here?
Yes, would be
Okay.
Ally and-
What's the question?
Far away from your adjoining property owner are you planning to propose the fence?
That's going to run the whole side, the whole length?
Oh, I know where you're running it. How far away from the property line of your neighbor and your property are you proposing to put the fence?
He wants to know how far inside the property basically is it coming from them? So 4 feet, like this way.
I don't understand the.
So the southern
He wants
property
to
line
know
between you and your
where's
neighbor
the-
at
where's the
10,
fence gonna run?
It's going to go here.
3, is it going to
5?
be 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet? That's what he's asking, from their
Off.
house, from their property line to our fence. What's that space? 4 feet.
Okay, I guess, I don't know.
4 feet.
I'm not understanding the question.
Okay.
4
And
feet.
what about in the back, the rear of the property? Because that cottage, for a 6-foot fence, they have windows all along the side. Are you dropping that in, or are you going to drop it down? Because it cannot, I would think, not go across and obstruct their windows.
We had no plans to make any adjustments to the height there. We
And
didn't
were you
hear from
taking
them.
it to the property line in the back, or were you going to drop in? It's not designated on your application.
Right, it will probably be about 3 to 4 feet. He has some fencing back there already, and there's a partial, is that a concrete block wall that's kind of deteriorating at the corner, at the southern and eastern corner, I guess. We would probably come in the same 3 feet or so, 3 to 4 feet.
I do understand that you're allowed 6 feet in the rear of your property, but
Yeah.
again, your neighbor has a right to maintain their house.
Sure,
To get
yes.
to that siding and foundation, as well as to have your fence come right along a third of their windows.
Sure.
That's my question, and it's not really defined in your application. Also, a lot of trees are going to be taken out, and that's not really stated in your application either. And the magnolia is the most principal tree. Is that slated to stay or go?
We'd like to, I guess, get that thing trimmed up. Yeah, because it's a nice tree. I mean, you can see a lot of the tree roots, but
Well, I'm only asking. I think
I think we
that
would-
whether we resolve anything
I'd like to
tonight
keep that.
or you come back, this all needs to be defined.
Yeah.
And
I do have a question.
I don't think we can resolve any of this without working drawings. Do you?
I'm sorry, Ashley, we,
Ashley, microphone.
I don't think that we can resolve anything without working drawings. I
Well,
think
I'm
we're-
asking questions.
Yeah, but at
so
this
that
point,
if
I
he
think we're
comes back
providing
with-
some
to
information.
complete his packet and drawings, that there'll be some mention of what's going to happen to all these trees.
I do have a question. Our neighbor at Dock, it may be 624, I think, he's our neighbor, and he has a roughly 6-foot wood fence. And I understand that that's his backyard and his driveway. But that's what I look at outside of my house.
Right.
And he has a beautiful fence. I have no problem with his fence. I would have, if he'd asked me, I would have signed off on it myself. I'm not sure, I'm just trying to find out the difference. I do understand the comments about the different types of material. You know, we have a brick house, he doesn't. I
Right.
just want to clarify how come he could do it and we couldn't without,
Well,
I'm not trying to be ugly.
I can,
Mr. Smith, may I interject over here? Sorry. Ma'am, so we don't know for certain if that particular house you're talking about even has a certificate of appropriateness from this board. In general, while 6 feet of fence may be allowed in that area, it would depend on what type of fence and if that 6-foot fence is congruous with the district as a whole. And that's what they are here to decide. They just need more information and details on exactly what you are planning before they can make an educated decision. But they can't, we don't know, again, for certain if that Dock Street house even has a certificate of appropriateness, because there are many, many properties that do things without realizing that they have to come before this commission for congruency.
I just happen to know that it did
There's-
because I got the letter.
There's a
So,
big, there's a
just
big
to help
difference
myself.
between the front of a house and sometimes what we allow on the side of a house, at a corner where there's the side and back.
Is this the house directly across the street from you on 7th on the corner?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we
Corner of
approved that.
7th and Dock.
We did
yeah.
approve that fence, and if you notice, we also had louvers in the upper part of it.
Yes,
Yes.
right.
There
I-
was some debate over that fence, but it
Okay.
is the rear yard, and that's why that was allowed.
Okay, thank you.
I've got another question. Is there a way that we can figure this out right now, so we don't have to keep coming back? Like if you say, hey, I want you to put, I want you to put brick on top of that wall around the whole thing and be done with it.
I don't think that's possible because we need a plan. But perhaps from this meeting, you can get some methods and ideas and come back with a plan.
So you're
And
only
work
coming
with
back
staff to
once.
come up with a solution.
So I'm hearing the property line for one, and you're proposing, you're proposing 6 feet on the south and east entirely, all the way to the sidewalk on each side, right?
Yep, correct.
So if that was spelled out a little bit clearer on a site plan with how far it is off the property line, to Michael's point, correct?
Yep, we can do that.
I thought we had drawings.
I did, but I
what
didn't.
I thought we had given you some drawings.
It doesn't
We have
say-
drawings, but it doesn't show any distance from the property
It
lines.
doesn't say distance.
All right, it didn't say
Only
PL.
the-
They're not scaled, it's hard to see.
Okay, so we just need to tighten that up a little bit better.
Give you
Okay.
all that. Okay.
And then come back in a month or 2 months?
What do you need?
We'd like to
continue.
come back tomorrow, but you don't mean so.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, we want to get it done,
So
we
if
were
was,
getting ready to start building tomorrow. but
if
I
we
guess
motion to continue this for a month, would that be okay?
That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
And your preference, if the board could agree on the preference is metal, black metal, more like the gates that the temporary gates that we have there now, is that something you're able to tell us? Right? this-
Yeah, and
And we could provide all of that.
we're going to open up a public hearing portion of
Sure.
this. We're
Okay.
hearing from you guys at this point. Next step is to hear from public in case there is anyone.
Okay.
Then we're going to close that and talk amongst ourselves, and we may talk to
Thank
you a little bit more about some of those options going forward then.
Okay, thank you
Any
so
oth-
much.
But let me, any other questions for,
I'll just say, and perhaps this could be in our deliberation, but corner properties fencing only come before us as a rule.
Right.
They're generally bypassed because of their significance. And again, the sidewalk community that we live in. And just like the property you are referencing, for fencing, and we have people that stand before us and support their neighbor and say, I don't care, I'd like, that'll be fine, as you indicated. But we are following standards.
Sure, yes.
And once something is approved, it goes forward, and it lasts a long time. A 6-foot fence coming right up to the sidewalk or to your knee wall stucco fence, as you walk along the sidewalk, it really obliterates the house on the other side. If you're on the corner and walk south down that, you're not even going to see your neighbor's house until you get in front of that house, which is the same thing across the street. You walk down across the street, south, you don't even see that cottage behind that house until you're on it. So that's why it comes before us. It's why we have standards to follow.
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now open, thank you. Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
talk to you
Mr.
more.
Chairperson, if you don't wish to open the evidentiary hearing, since the consensus is to continue this matter so that they can get with staff, hopefully create some sort of drawings that answer some of the questions that have come up and present to you more evidence at the next hearing, there's no need to open the evidentiary hearing at this meeting because it will have to be done again anyway at the subsequent meeting.
I see.
But that's up to you. That's within your purview.
Yeah, I'd actually like to hear in case, does the commission want to open this up and see if anyone has any input? Maybe there's something we may learn
I
from.
would. Is anybody out there? Yes.
Okay. With that, I want to open the evidentiary proceeding. Anyone wishing to anyone wishing to submit evidence is asked to come to the podium. Please state your name and address and present your evidence.
I'm Eileen Ashton, 16 South 7th Street.
Nicole Hampton, 621 Dock Street. Ma'am, you can put the microphone down lower.
With the trees were one of my big issues, you know, because, and cutting that fence. My understanding to put a garage or driveway.
I think they're
that you're gonna
proposing
be
to cut the
cutting.
wall, 12 feet out of that wall for
Cutting it.
gates to get back to a gravel driveway and a paver parking area or paver patio.
So you're going to allow the brick wall to be cut through, taken out?
We're listening to what your concerns are right now. We haven't decided anything
I
yet.
didn't think you could take that much out. And I think standard is 10 feet as opposed to 12 feet
Okay.
for brick walls. You know, so that was one of my concerns, that you're taking an existing brick wall out. And I thought that was part of the commission, that we didn't do that. And then the trees, that's all I've ever heard in the last several years. You know, leave the trees, leave the trees, leave the trees. Then suddenly, to put something there, they're going to have to take all those trees down. And then I did have one big concern, is the tree, I don't know what you call that little section.
Plaza?
The plaza, whatever. There is a tree there, and my only concern is if they cut it and they cut the roots, the tree will fall over. This has happened to another neighbor, and that's the only reason that I want to make sure, for the benefit of both houses, that, you know, you look closely at that tree on the property, on the front. I think that was it. Nicole?
I just wanted to echo the concerns that the commission already mentioned about the style of the fence, and adding a wood fence on top of the concrete fence. And then I think my other concern is just adding a driveway where there isn't one and cutting through the sidewalk when, I mean, to keep in the style of the house. There's a garage in the back already, and so to add a driveway on the other side of the property just seems incongruous to the historic character of the neighborhood and of the property. And then I think just two things that weren't addressed in the packet that I had questions about. There's an old, like, well or cistern on that property, and it doesn't seem to be depicted in any of the drawings, and I'm just curious if in the new plans it can be noted whether that's going to be demolished or paved over or not. And then I'd like to ask if, at the moment, there's currently like a metal rollout, like, construction fence that's being used, and if this is going to be continued for many months, it would be nice for that fence to be removed so that it's not a permanent fixture for the next few months in the district. That's all.
I'm sorry, repeat that last part about the,
You can barely see it in this photograph, but if you were to zoom in, there's like a chicken wire rollout fence that's been added as a temporary amount of fencing around the property to make the height up higher. And it's not befitting of the district. And if this is going to be continued for a few months, it would be nice that that doesn't stay for a few months.
I saw that.
okay.
That's all. Thank you.
I was going to say, I have one more thing. And double check the height of that wall, because I thought it was a 3-foot wall. And if you add a 4-foot wall, then suddenly it would be 7 feet. So definitely
They're
make sure
proposing to, whatever the height may be, because it changes with grade a little bit, the height would be 4 feet from adjacent grade. Regardless of whatever height the existing masonry stucco-coated wall is, it would be 4 feet.
So, okay, so it would be 3 feet if it was 3 feet stucco, and 4 feet on top of that. So
No,
total 7 feet.
maximum height from the grade would be, they're proposing 4 feet.
So if
So
it
if
would
it's
have to
3
be a
feet
3
now,
feet. So 3 feet.
They'd add a foot to make it 4, but our understanding right now is that it's 2 feet.
Okay.
So
I
they'd be
thought it
adding
was
2
going
feet.
6 feet. Okay.
No, they're proposing 6 feet on this side, which was what was getting discussed earlier, that it's technically still the front yard, so.
I can't hear you, ma'am.
Oh, sorry, I was just clarifying for Mimi that the 6-foot portion was just on that right side, and that you'd already brought that up as a topic of discussion.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll close the evidentiary portion of that was open members of the public, and then now Commissioner Deliberation.
I have a quick question for the staff. Is there a curb cut where they're proposing to cut the wall? Is there already a driveway cut there?
Yes.
Yes.
There is, okay.
Actually, I looked at that very carefully, and the concrete apron is circa 1920s. I think it's original to this house when you really look at it carefully.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
So presumably the wall, I don't know, but presumably at some point there was a break in that wall originally. If there's an apron right there coming from 7th Street going.
My feeling is this
toward the
wall
east.
came sometime after. I mean, I can't prove it, but, I saw the apron.
Right, it looks like it.
Right.
I'll just offer, I think that obviously this is going to be continued, or the applicant will come back. I would find it hard to support a picket fence, a 2-foot picket fence running along the top of this stucco wall. There's nothing congruent about it. It's a big brick structure. Even the porch floor is masonry. I mean, it's a masonry structure. And a picket fence on top of this simply is not appropriate, not congruous. I have some concerns also as the applicant's looking at their plan coming back in that small space to do gravel and pavers. It's just 2 elements side by side that seem very compatible. Just the thought from my perspective that they may look at, and I think whatever fencing they come down the south side of their property with should have some setback from the sidewalk of 4 feet and gradually rise. I would find it hard to support a 6-foot fence
So
coming
Michael,
up.
you're saying you think that the fencing should not go on top of the wall?
Not a picket fence. Not a picket fence.
Michael, I think is suggesting not wood, correct?
Something
metal.
Ironwork or aluminum, that's.
A picket
that's-
fence below the grade?
He's just saying no picket fence. He would not support a picket fence.
Okay, but y'all aren't talking about going above the, okay, you're not talking about going into the actual,
Yard?
Well, I think that some metal or iron, aluminum, somewhat like he's put up, that was not approved, that's tight enough if they have pets, that would be visually compatible and congruence with the property. I cannot support, if it comes back, a 2-foot picket fence running along that stucco wall.
I agree with that. I think it should clearly be metal and a maximum of 4 feet in the front. I don't think we should allow a 6-foot fence in the front, nor should it be on the side up to the sidewalk. I think it should be set back like we do on most of these houses with 6 feet.
And I'll just add, thank you, if the applicant could define what's going to happen in the back, is there a set-in, what would a 6-foot fence to their property line do to the service and maintenance of the house behind them, and where would it run along their neighbors' windows? That needs to be defined to us when they come back.
Joan, was there anything else you wanted to add to that? Okay, and I think something about the trees and the cistern, that's an element too that I think that the commission would like to know about, whatever the plan may be for that going forward too. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want, Mike, so you're suggesting if they use the pavers for the patio, they use pavers for the driveway?
Well, it's possible. I'm not trying to dictate,
I'm
but
just
I think that
trying to see what-
visually, there's just an assortment of materials.
Right, I
We've
know
got
what you're saying.
stucco, we've got gravel, we've got pavers, and it's all visually right in front of you.
Okay. That's it.
So as we go about, I'm sorry, Ms. Huffman, is this a motion we're making then to continue this for a date certain?
That's my understanding of what you all wanted to do, and it was for the next meeting, correct?
Should
Which
be
would
making
be
a motion for that for the next meeting, right?
August 11th,
Okay.
I think. Let me double check that date. Yes, August 11th would be our next meeting date.
So we're making a motion on that, correct? Someone's going to make a motion on that topic. Would anyone like to make a motion on that concept of continuing this till the next meeting, August 11th?
I
have a question before you start. In that motion, should we add some of these comments about what we don't want to approve, or?
I don't think that would be appropriate, because that would require some sort of consensus among the board, and rather than issue an advisory opinion, I think they should just take what you've discussed, work with staff, and come back with a presentation that addresses your concerns.
Okay. I make a motion that this item will be continued until the August 11th meeting, and at that time will be represented.
I'm sorry, is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. Our next agenda item, please, agenda item number 3, 19 North 7th Street.
(19 North 7th Street). The applicant proposes to remove the existing historic slate roof on the main body of the house and porch, and to install a standing seam metal roof on the porch and an architectural shingle roof on the main body of the house. The dwelling located at 19 North 7th Street was built circa 1915 as a 2-story side passage house. The house L-shaped wraparound porch has been partially enclosed with a 2nd-story addition above. The house's main entry features a 3/4 glazed light door with a tripartite transom and divided light side lights. A modified Palladian window at the attic level and a circular vent adorn the main facade. The porch features turned balusters, Tuscan columns, and a denticulated molding at the cornice. The 1st and 2nd-story windows feature 3/1 sashes. The subject property is located on the southwest corner of Princess and North 7th Street. The subject is a contributing resource within the historic district, and revisions to all facades of the building and the site are subject to design review within this district. The applicant proposes to remove the existing historic slate roof from the main body and porch roofs and install along the porch roof a CMS standing seam 24-gauge 16-inch flat panel roof in the color silver metallic as shown here. The applicant seeks to remove the historic slate roof from the main body and install GAF Timberline HDZ architectural shingles in the color slate on the main body of the house, as shown here. These are the current conditions of the roof. This slide notes that where there are architectural shingles and where there are standing seam, and then the properties that have half and half are where the porch is a standing seam in the red and the yellow is architectural shingles. So on the properties that are half and half, you'll see that the porch is a standing seam and the main body of the house is architectural shingle. Staff notes that no new vents or changes to the roof line have been proposed, and staff notes that the chimney will remain. And would like to enter tonight's report into proceedings.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Thank you. We'd like to provide the applicant an opportunity to provide additional evidence or answer any questions we may have. If you would come up and state your name and address.
Nancy Lee Friedland, 19 North 7th Street.
I'm sorry, can you state your name in the microphone? You can pull the microphone down.
And Nancy Lee Friedland, 19 North 7th Street.
Do you have anything to add to the staff's report?
No, just that I seem to have a remarkably uncontroversial and routine kind of request. And checked with all my neighbors and looked around the neighborhood. The roofer guy who I finally chose walked me all around and showed me several houses in the neighborhood that he had done, and it was his recommendation for the color that we accepted because it was congruent with what we saw 2 blocks over. And I wish I had $177,000 to put a slate roof on, but I don't. So that's why we saw some other options.
I have a couple quick questions myself. I see the photos were provided by this company called the Century Slate Company.
Yeah.
Were they one of the?
That was their estimate.
Okay, so that's how you got all these photographs together. And I assume you have leakage and broken?
Yes, we do. Every time it rains, it's pouring through the house, yes. 3rd and 2nd floors.
I see in one of the attachments on your application, it says that you're proposing to remove and replace 24 squares of slate tile and replace with 34 squares of shingles.
Oh,
The
originally
discrepancy
when Stephen wrote that he was writing 34 square for the entire roof, and then when we were talking and found that we could possibly do the steel on the porch, we subtracted it. So I guess that we
Okay.
didn't make the correction there.
Okay. Have you considered a shingle that looks like the old slate rather than an architectural shingle?
That's what I thought we chose, one that looked like the slate. I thought those words went together, architectural and
Well, the
looks like
slate is the color.
Oh, you're using slate as a color, not slate as a,
And then in the staff report, we saw one photograph of an section of architectural roofing, but it's not, doesn't have that slate appearance to it, like the existing roof. Are you proposing a shingle, a composite shingle that looks like slate?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
not necessarily architectural the way I think a lot of us know it, but a slate style shingle.
you know, I'm really not familiar with these terms of art.
Okay. Okay, and so you're looking for, you're proposing a shingle that looks like the slate roof, not, could someone, so that, you're not proposing this, what's in this photograph here to the right, correct? Because that's not that slate look.
No.
Okay.
Can you get your roofer to bypass this and go to the, and approve it with the,
Staff? Yeah. Presumably. Any other questions, comments?
No, I appreciate, I would have brought up your suggestion about an architectural shingle that is, particularly as high as your house is on the corner, it's very hard to, with these asphalt shingles that are architectural in design, I mean, slate-like in design, that you're willing to do that. That was going to be one of my suggestions. We, obviously, the age of various houses in our neighborhood, we see requests for metal roof changes and slate roof changes. You certainly provided us with a lot of roof shots, and only one inside. I mean, I'm sympathetic to the water damage you're having inside. It would have been nice to see some of that evidence beyond just one shot. The only one shot was attic
I'm so
roofing.
sorry. I had
I
no
appreciate
idea.
that. I'm just saying, when we make a decision to
We have
support
buckets.
the
They're
accomplishment,
permanent buckets up there.
we know that the life of the roof is done. That's the only thing.
The photograph of the attic interior showed a relatively healthy-looking, dry attic interior.
In fact, the water's coming through not the attic portion, the water is coming through the living portion on the 3rd floor and into our bedroom on the 2nd floor. And we just have buckets that are there all the time because, you know, we've had
Right.
flash rain, so.
I'm just saying it would support your cause if we had seen some of that.
Had no idea.
And God bless you. I know that's a nightmare, but, you know, we do like as much evidence when we rule as possible.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now open the evidentiary proceeding. Anyone wishing to submit evidence is asked to come to the podium. Please state your name and address, present your evidence. Does anyone would like to speak?
I just wanted to say two things. Travis Gilbert, 211 Orange Street, Historic Wilmington Foundation. The property owners reached out to us and were a pleasure to speak with, and I know they used the resources we provided and that staff provided to arrive at this decision. And I just wanted to reiterate that we've been noticing this trend over the past 2 years. We hear your concerns, and Durable Restoration out of Ohio that just did the restoration work at the Bergman Wright is going to be doing a free workshop at Legacy this fall on slate roof repair and maintenance. So hopefully we can avoid situations as we're arriving, but I know these houses are getting to be 100 years old, which is conveniently the lifespan of a slate roof. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? We'll now close the public hearing portion of the deliberation here and move on to commissioner deliberation.
I have no problem with what they're wanting.
Yeah, honestly, I walked by this house, and I knew this woman would be standing here tonight before she even bought the house and knew it existed, because that roof, it's got issues, it really does, and yeah, so I have no problem with that.
Anyone else?
And it sounds to the confession of the applicant that she's willing to do a slate type roof in an asphalt shingle.
I think someone will make a motion
and
with that noted.
That's what we would, and I certainly do believe the photographs are very compelling along the top of the roof. However, our history is that we want to see the result of that in the attic and stains on the ceiling. And
We want to see water in buckets.
And I just mentioned that.
Yep. Yeah, when you zoom in on these photographs, it's spalling. It's not just cracking, but it's also spalling, it's thinning, and there have been a lot of repairs done to it.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to make a motion? Presumably with that note in the motion about the slate style that would be approved as the bypass level.
I move to approve.
Ashley, if you could speak in the microphone.
I move to approve the request for the replacement of not sliding windows. Okay. Roofing material at 19 North 7th Street. Details as shown on the drawings plan photographs, submittals, and narrative statement contained in the application and supplemental materials, and statements made at this meeting and part of this request unless otherwise noted. This motion is made based on the evidence presented before us, the application submittals, testimony, staff report, including findings of fact. The following condition shall be applied to ensure compliance with the design standards, those set forth in staff report 1 through 7. The proposed request does comply with the...
Ashley, I'm sorry, if you could mention about the slate style
Oh, okay.
as a condition?
Okay, the following conditions shall be applied, 1 through 7, and slate-style roof material.
Instead of the architectural, yeah.
Yes, per the architectural,
So I think it would be the slate style instead of the architectural that's shown.
instead of the
in-
architectural
yeah. Yep. That's it.
material. The proposed request with condition does comply with the Wilmington Design Standards for Historic Districts and Landmarks, is compatible with materials, features, design, context, and character of the historic building and the historic district in which it is located, and is congruous with the site, streetscape, and historic aspects of the historic district residential as a whole. Applicable design standards 1.6, Secretary of Interior Standards 2, 3, 5, 6, 3.1 roofs, 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Is there a second?
Ms. Wilson, before you get a second, can I just clarify, do you want that slate-style shingle approved by staff before the applicant puts it on the roof?
I think that, yes.
So,
Yes.
okay, I just want to make sure we were
Yes.
clear that it needs to be pre-approved. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Where are we here?
Agenda item number 4, 103 Ann Street.
The applicant for 103 Ann Street proposes to install new siding, windows, shutters, and to paint the exterior. The subject townhouse is located on the north side of Ann Street between South Front Street and South Second Street. The townhouse is a non-contributing resource in the Historic District residential. Revisions to all facades of a building and the site are subject to design review in this district. The applicant seeks to remove the existing siding and install new siding. The existing siding is made from masonite and is painted Tuscan red. The new siding will be a hardy plank, smooth siding with a 6-inch reveal, and will be painted with Benjamin Moore Simply White. The applicant seeks to remove the existing windows and install new windows. The existing windows are wood with a 6/6 sash and are painted white. The front south elevation will have 5 white Simonton 5050 series vinyl windows installed in the existing window openings. The 2 windows on the first story will be 32 inches wide by 36 inches high, and the 3 windows on the, and the 3 windows on the second story will be 36 inches wide by 51 inches high. On the rear north elevation, we'll have a total of 9 windows that will also be the same type and style and in the color. The 6 windows on the first story will be 36 inches by 53 inches, and the 2 windows on the second story and the 1 window on the basement level, they will be 36 inches by 48 inches. The applicant seeks to replace the existing front facade's louver shutters, which are vinyl in the color white. The new shutters are to be wood with a louver design S-hook and metal hinges and will be painted with Benjamin Moore beacon gray. The shutter's overall dimensions on the first story will be 15 inches wide by 42 inches high and 15 inches wide by 66 inches high on the second story. The dimensions of the louvers and the final design of the new shutters have not been provided. When reviewing prior projects at other townhouses on the Ann Street 100 block, with similar requests for vinyl windows, the following was found. In December 2019, 107 Ann Street went before the HPC for a project that included several exterior alterations, including the replacement of the existing siding with 8 1/4 inch James Hardy cement lap siding with a 7-inch reveal, installed with the smooth side out, and the request to replace non-original metal windows with vinyl windows. The metal windows were installed without a COA at the time. HPC approved for the sitting applicant to enter into a preservation agreement to replace the after-fact windows with wood windows compatible with the property, and they approved the Hardy siding on the back. In April 2008, 109 Ann Street was approved by HPC to install a sunroom with cement fiberboard Hardy lap siding as the exterior material. The HPC approved wood trim and not the tough board vinyl composite as the applicant had requested. The windows were approved to be MW Jefferson 200 double hung wood with a 4/4 simulated divided lights with a spacer bar and 7/8 of an inch wide lens. Staff has found no recent precedent for denial of alterations to siding materials on non-contributing, nor for the installation of wood shutters on non-contributing buildings in the historic district residential. In the past, HPC has both approved and denied the installation of vinyl windows on non-contributing buildings. Staff notes that the proposed Hardy siding is similar in construction and makeup to the existing masonite siding. Hardy siding has been approved by the HPC as the exterior material for new construction projects in the district. The design standards state that each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Deteriorated historical features shall be repaired rather than replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of distinct features, the new feature shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities, and where possible, materials. Vinyl-clad windows are not appropriate in the historic districts, and the standards does not differentiate between contributing and non-contributing. At this time, staff would like to enter the report in its entirety into the record of tonight's proceedings.
Thank you, Megan. Any questions of staff?
What is the current reveal on the siding? It looks more than 6 inches.
I do not have that information. I apologize. I do not have that information. I apologize.
Okay.
Applicant may have that. Okay. Any other questions? I have a question, Megan. I see that the, one of the staff's conditions is the windows shall be wood. They were proposing vinyl. Staff condition, I'm curious as to the
So
reason
because
for that.
the guidelines do not differentiate between non-contributing and contributing when it comes to vinyl windows, to be in line with the guidelines, they would be required to put in wood. For the town, well, HPC has approved both vinyl and denied vinyl. For what I could find when reviewing previous projects, non-contributing's within the townhomes community, so this 100 block is a strip of townhomes that are attached together. Vinyl's been denied in the past for these townhomes, and wood has been approved for these townhomes.
Okay. Thank you. Now we'd like to provide the applicant an opportunity, if they're present, to provide additional evidence or answer any questions we may have. If you'd state your name and your address, please.
My name is Jeff Cerns. Address is 7203 Adonis Court, Wilmington. And I'm the contractor for the homeowner Janet Wheeler for the project.
Anything to add to the staff report?
So, yeah, as far as the staff, report, and basically we're going to take down the siding, put new up. You asked about the size of that. Yes, that is a fairly tall masonite siding. I believe it is probably maybe maybe at least 8 or 9 inches. I don't recall.
Yeah, it's Louisiana Pacific stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cardboard.
1970.
It's cardboard, yeah.
Right. So we've, just had a 6-inch exposure, but, we could do a hardy that's an 8 1/4 that has a 7-inch exposure, but that's really the tallest our lap siding, is. So that's why, that's our proposal for that, yes.
Okay, but the point is, the 6-inch reveal will change the look some on the siding.
Understood.
Okay.
But we'd be willing, of course, to do the 8 1/4, which would give the 7-inch reveal for sure.
And still advocating for a vinyl Simonton, not the wood window as one of the conditions?
Well, originally, that is the plan. I know one of the units a couple doors down does have vinyl, and I do realize that may have been gone through you guys or may not have in the past. And I know some vinyl has been approved, especially if it's not a historic home. I mean, the home was built in 1970. To replace it with wood is not, as you all know, not as, the longevity is not there. Even the newer windows are just not the same quality they used to be. So we would still like to, have the, vinyls as replacements and not replacing the total unit being a, wood window.
I had a question about I didn't see anything, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see anything about a divided light pattern. Are you proposing 6
it would
over
be the
6?
same 6x6 that
6 over 6?
is in the
Okay.
home right now, yes. And you're looking through some metal storm windows. I'm not so sure they're very historic either. But,
Yeah.
but we would not be replacing those. The idea is to put the vinyl in and not have the need for a storm window.
Okay. Any other questions from commission?
I do. Obviously, this is a HOA group
Yes.
of property. Do you know if the homeowner or you have gained the blessing of, and it may be the HOA chair is going to speak, but are they in agreement with the colors and the changes that are proposed?
From my understanding, I casually have ran into the gentleman here this evening, and we were talking about colors the other day, and he seemed, think it'd be very nice, but we haven't spoke directly about it, no.
The applicant has not, you're the contractor, but
Yes.
the homeowner has not brought it up before the HOA or
That
the neighbors?
That conversation, I couldn't tell you what they may have had, no, sir.
I lived relatively close to this row of townhomes, and I don't know, are any white, solid white throughout there in the mix?
I can't say that, as far as the paint color, that there's a solid white. I know a couple down, there is I think it's a light gray tone. So, standing back and looking at it, the red is extremely out of place. As far as I saw it, a white or something like that would, be much milder, in that row of homes for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I would just like to respond to the paint colors question, Mr. Smith. So the majority of the homes on that street are either brick or light blues or like a pastel warm color, like pinks and yellows. The house in itself currently is actually, from my memory, the only like dark warm color on the immediate 100 Am block.
I'm sorry, I just lost that last sentence.
So the current color of the house is actually kind of an exception to the rest of the properties on the 100 Am block. The majority of them are either bricks or light pastels or light blues.
We will now open the evidentiary proceeding. Anyone wishing to submit evidence is asked to come to the podium now. Please state your name and address and present your evidence. If anyone is going to do that? And it looks like they will not, so we'll open the commissioner, close that portion and open the commissioner deliberation.
I don't have a problem with these windows being vinyl.
I don't either. It's, you know.
Well, do we have a good reason? I mean, it seems like we're having this question on vinyl plus versus wood again, and setting precedents and congruity, and so I mean, is it okay to make them vinyl, or?
I think that excuse me. I think that they were already vinyl before, and so, Ron, I think that keeps it congruent in that and upgraded. They probably aren't even of a size that you could, you know, get the wood. I mean, it's not like an older historic home. They're just trying to make them look
Yeah, I
better.
just know Katie Holmes lived in one of those way back in the day, from Dawson's Creek. I think she may have owned this one. I don't know if she did, or she owned one of those units there, so.
It's also
anyway,
non-contributory. I think not being contributory in all new houses, a lot of new houses are vinyl. I don't think it matters.
All right. Obviously, the
thank you.
as intimate as those properties are, and the sign's been up, I would have liked to have heard a representative from the HOA saying, we support this, or neighbors to come forward and say, we support this. I have no problem with the siding. I would like to see wood windows go back in. But visually, I'm just wondering how a white since they're brick or warm colors all along there. I know across the street there are several white houses, but in the intimacy of each one of these units really does tie in. I would have thought that the applicant might have really sought out the support of adjoining property owners to say, you know, are you in agreement with this? So we have to assume that they knew this hearing was coming up, that they were okay with that. But I would like to see wood windows go back in.
Anyone else want to speak to that specifically about wood versus a vinyl that's proposed? Because we have allowed for other older existing non-contributing structures to have vinyl, aluminum clad, a variety of different types of windows, and you do have other ones. I mean, I do not like vinyl, but for our purposes here, it doesn't seem inappropriate there for this particular property.
Well, also, I'm sorry, go.
I don't love vinyl either, but I think that that's what was there, and it's a non-contributing structure. If we were replacing wood windows, that would be a
Ashley, microphone.
If we were replacing wood windows, that would be a different story in an historic home, I think. I hate to see it.
I'm
but
reading
it's-
that the existing windows are wood right now. Are they?
Yes, the windows are wood, and then it's the shutters that are vinyl.
Right. Now we're proposing wood shutters, vinyl windows. That's the proposal from the applicant.
Correct.
I understand the term contributing structure, and it's applied based on age. However, these houses sit on streets that people walk every day. The row of houses is very pleasing. It is contributing to the streetscape, to passersby that walk by and enjoy the house. And I think every unit owner is proud of their house. I think it should stay wood myself. And the shutters, I just think that the maintenance of these properties, which are contributing, not in the literal sense, but they are contributing to the streetscape and the neighborhood in which they sit.
A couple observations. First of all, wood vinyl, I mean, the proposal has fiber cement board going on as siding. So I guess if you wanted to take the logic to the furthest point, you'd say, well, if there's wood windows, you have to have wood siding and wood everything else. But this is not a contributing building, so I'm not crazy about vinyl either, but on this structure, I'm a little ambivalent on that point. However, I will point out, though, that this is an application for vinyl windows, and the first condition in the says windows shall be wood, so we're going to have to strike that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think one thing we can probably agree on is that we want this masonite siding to be removed, stepped on, spit on, and taken away and never come back. I can't believe that stuff is still legal. Would anyone like to make a motion on this agenda item?
I move to approve with conditions the request for the replacement of siding, windows, and shutters and new paint colors at 103 Ann Street. Details are shown on the drawings, plans, photographs, submittals, and narrative statement contained in the application, and supplemental materials and statements made at this meeting are part of the request unless otherwise noted. This motion is based on the evidence presented before us, the application submittals, testimony, staff report, including the findings of fact. The following conditions shall be applied to ensure compliance with the design standards. Those set forth in the staff report, numbers 2 through 6. Number 1 will be eliminated as we are allowing vinyl windows.
Joan, can I interject, please? I would submit that maybe as a condition to give this a little bit more of a detail that resembles wood is that it's, because in the staff report it mentioned having a true divided light, which is a really difficult pattern to get, especially you can't get it in vinyl, but if it was an SDLS, so a simulated divided light with a spacer bar, that would provide a little bit of depth and texture to the window to make it look a little more authentic.
Okay, what Chris just said. The proposed request with conditions does comply with the Wilmington Design Standards for Historic Districts and Landmarks, is compatible with the materials, features, design, context, and character of the historic building and the historic district in which it is located, and is congruous with the site, streetscape, and historic aspects of the historic district residential as a whole. Applicable design standards, 1.6 Secretary of the Interior Standards 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9, 3.2 Windows and doors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9, 3.5 Exterior walls and decorative woodwork 1, 2, 3, and 4, 3.8 exterior color 1, 2, and 3.
Staff need any clarification on the condition, by the way?
A simulated divided with spacer bar.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, can we do that again? Aye?
Aye.
Joan? That was
Aye.
Four. Okay. All opposed?
Aye. Aye.
So that passes 4-2. Last agenda item. 1902 Market Street.
All right. 1902 Market Street. The applicant proposes to modify the fence design of a major works project, MJW 2158. The Smith Willoughby House was built in circa 1907 as a two-story craftsman-style house designed by local architect Burritt Stevens. It has a two-story projecting bay on the east end of the front facade with a pedimented gable. The house features a partial one-story wraparound porch, hip-roofed wood shingle siding, 1/1 windows, decorative pane windows, and a stuccoed porch supports with arched openings. The property is located on the south side of Market Street in the corner of South 19th Street. Only that which can be seen from the public right, the house is a contributing building within the Carolina Heights Winoka Terrace Historic District overlay, and only that which can be seen from the public right-of-way, excluding alleys, is subject to design review within the Carolina Heights Winoka Terrace Historic District overlay. The north, south, and west facades are all visible from the public right-of-way. The applicant seeks to make the following changes and modify the approved fence design for the rear yard. As you can see here, this is the current design. A previously approved design included a 4-foot-tall wood picket fence painted white enclosing the accessory dwelling unit patio at the southern corner of the building, as well as a 6-foot fence that continued along the rear property line. Here you know the area of the modification. So that's the alleyway, and the north-south there is South 19th Street. Here you can see where the new fence would be visible. And this is the area of the proposed 6-foot fence. The staff would like to enter tonight's report into the record.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
Cool.
We will now open the evidentiary proceeding. Anyone wishing to submit evidence is asked to come to the podium. Please state your name and address.
You need to hear from the applicant first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Could we hear from the applicant? If you would come forward, please, and state your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Adrian Monte. I live at 1902 Market Street.
Great. Anything to add to the report?
Yeah, just the purpose is just to keep congruity with our existing rear fence and to offer that small patio space, the extra safety, security from noise and debris pollution, as that is an active alleyway for trucks, recycling, garbage, and other lawn things. Yeah, so that's about it. And also to thank Jessica and your entire staff for their diligent work.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any questions of the applicant?
I just, what is the setback from the fence to the side of the structure? What is that? It probably is in here, and I'm not seeing it quickly.
I believe it should be about 4 feet.
It's 4 feet.
Yeah.
And the dotted drawing that is showing, is that, it looks like it comes out perpendicular from the corner?
It will.
Rather than at an angle?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Are there any openings proposed in that fence from the alley?
No, not from the alley. There is a door from the interior of the house, so there's 2 doors
Right,
in
but
the
I
corner.
meant
But not from
break
the alley.
in.
No, that'll be a private thing for the resident.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Now open the evidentiary proceeding. Anyone wishing to submit evidence is asked to come to the podium. Seeing none, we will close the evidentiary portion. Commissioner Deliberation next.
I just have a question, if it matters to us. If there's a setback from the alleyway required, I know that might not be in our purview, but it seems like maybe there would be some sort of setback requirement. Does this have to have a city permit to construct the fence? Does anybody know?
Zoning would probably sign off on this at the end of the project and check that.
Yeah, the fence is far enough back from the corner that there's no like sightline issue that zoning would kick in for zoning. I had them review.
Okay, but I would just caution the applicant that, again, with the fence right there with, as you mentioned, big trucks and mirrors hanging off, that you might want to think about that as far as the edge of your fence and future damage or things of that nature, so.
Other comments or notes for deliberation between us? Anyone? Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to approve with conditions the request for fence modification, 1902 Market Street. Details.
Microphone.
Yeah.
You speak into your microphone.
Can't hear you.
Okay. Details shown on the drawings, plans, photographs, submittals, narrative statements contained in the application and submittal materials and supplements made at this meeting are part of this request unless otherwise noted. The motion is based on the evidence presented before us, the application submittals, testimony, staff report, including findings of fact. The following conditions shall be applied to ensure compliance with design standards. Those set forth in the staff report 1 through 7. The proposed request with conditions does comply with Wilmington design standards for historic districts and landmarks, is compatible with the materials, features, design, context, and character of the historic building and the historic district in which it is located, and is congruous with the site, streetscape, and historic aspects of the historic district residential as a whole. Applicable design standards, 1.6, Secretary of Interior, standards 2, 3, 4, 2.3, fences and walls, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 9.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Any items from commission before adjourning the meeting?
I'd like to ask, when we closed our last month's meeting, we voiced a desire for education on congruency for fence location and height. The chair is not here tonight. Has there been any movement on that in the last 30 days? Are we waiting for the commission to set up a meeting to discuss this and see, particularly if it's, we need to take something before city council, we need to know how to proceed. I'm just opening it up for discussion. Does anyone know if there's been any movement on that?
I'm not really sure what you're asking the question, I'm sorry.
Well, it is in the form of a question, but we closed out very concerned about congruency definition, and we were advised by Melissa what would need to happen. Again, we've brought this up several times over the years, and it just seems to flounder. And I think there's enough momentum on the commission to spearhead this and keep it moving. And also that we need some clear definition on the height and location, particularly on the side that's appropriate for the district, and none of which we have any guidance on. And if we could have a special meeting for this, a Zoom call or something that we explore and get some resolution of these issues, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, if I could interject, I believe from the last meeting, what we had talked about is waiting until Ms. Painter came on board, and your first day was July 5th, is that correct? So we are just getting her introduced to Wilmington and the issues that we have here, but that process, we are working on it, but she's got a lot to catch up on. So I think that I can speak for Ms. Painter and let you know that staff will be working together and with legal as necessary to bring that before the commission. I would guess the earliest would probably be October. And Ms. Painter, I'm looking to you. Does that sound like the earliest probably? Yeah, October maybe, to look for an update from staff on that.
And that is the congruency issue, but is the fence issue, is that part of this as well?
I would say, so if we do ask City Council to make changes to the standards and to possibly make some changes to, in the congruency we had been talking about, maybe different districts, that sort of thing, all of those matters would have to go to City Council ultimately for approval. I think it would be best to take everything to them at one time if we could, rather than piecemealing it. Now, of course, if one item is taking a little bit longer for us to get through than the other, we can absolutely do it at different times. But just let us get Ms. Painter up to date, and we'll get back with you later. Like I said, October at the earliest would be my guess.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And just to add to that, we are going to be working on updates to the design standards, and so that would probably be an appropriate time to address the fence question that you raised in terms of height, as we work on those standards.
And those updates to the standard are coming from where?
Those are coming, staff is working on those.
From guidance from the state?
No, sir, they're coming from us, and we'll put out an RFP and have a consultant that'll come in and review all the standards and just provide us all with an update that includes issues that we were discussing today, as well as some things that as staff we have found in the process that could maybe use some clarification and help guiding everyone in what is considered congruent and not, and then also what is allowed to be done as a bypass and what is not, kind of thing.
And is
So
that
you'll be fully in the loop
okay,
as that
and
starts
is
to
the
happen.
consultant is that slated to happen, or is
We're
happening?
working on the RFP now, so we hope to have that rocking and rolling soon.
All right, thank you.
Any other items from staff? I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passed unanimously.
Great job, Christopher. Woo-woo.